Bam guys, are you waiting for the RTX 50 series Super? It's about that time. NVIDIA is just going through their mid-cycle refresh, which is going to be dubbed the NVIDIA 50 series Super. There's going to be a couple sources that I will cite from this. It's going to be quite interesting. Just to note out there, just remember that all this is just rumors, and some of it could be possibly true. There's going to be 3 new desktop GPUs that are possibly going to come out, which is the RTX 5070 Super, the RTX 5070 Ti Super, and of course the RTX 5080 Super, and the RTX 5090, not quite Super, but Ti. But remember, the whole Ti variant, that's just going to be a very strong on the rumor side, because we haven't seen the RTX 4090 come out with their Ti variants. Could it be possible that they will bring back a RTX 5090 Ti in the 50 series? I'm going to break down the rumored specifications, performance levels, pricing, and the release window. Let's start off with the big boy Super, which is the RTX 5080 Super. The RTX 5080 Super is rumored to have the GB203 GPU. Sounds pretty familiar, right? It's going to retain its full 10,752 CUDA cores. The SMs will still remain the same, as they will be at 84. What this really implies is that it's more identical to the base RTX 5080. One of the key upgrades is going to go from 16 gigabytes over to 24 gigabytes of VRAM, which is the perfect RAM set for everybody out there who are gamers and wants to really max out those resolutions. This is achieved by using the newer 24 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes per chip. The G7 will still remain with the 256-bit bus instead of using 16 gigabytes at 2 gigabytes per chip. Memory speed is also higher, where it's reaching up to 32 gigabits per second versus the standard 30 gigabits per second. It's yielding approximately about 1 terabyte of bandwidth. This extra high-speed memory is to address those issues, especially with those on workloads. When it comes to streaming, it's going to be 50% more than the standard RTX 5080. This will greatly improve on memory beneficial tasks, even AI workflows, if you were to use a RTX 5080 Super. Believe it or not, when it comes to gaming, you're not going to see a huge uplift unless you're really pushing your graphics, and then you have to be pushing at 4K, 240 hertz, or even 8K. You have to really be pushing that GPU to take full advantage of it. Now, to the powers and clocks. To support the faster memory, the power draw is getting bumped up. The total TGP at 400 watts, which is a 11% increase compared to the base 5080. One leak pushes that the RTX 5080 Super could push as high as 415 watts. This suggests that NVIDIA would have to push up the clock speeds or voltage in the GPU for it to really reach those levels. Such a push on a RTX 5080 Super could really push it to the levels of a RTX 4090. That's going to really fix the RTX 4090 pricing, I'll tell you that. Expect it to be quite large and probably going to be quite the size, such as the RTX 4090. It's going to have some robust cooling. Since the cores remain the same, the real-world performance lift is expected to be modest, largely from the memory bandwidth and the clock speed boost. Some insiders believe it's only going to give it really a 5% performance gain. Where you would really benefit from is the extra VRAM. You're pushing about a little bit higher at the 6.6% range, because you are going from 32 gigabits per second over the 30 gigabits per second. Please don't expect a massive FPS jump over the standard baseline RTX 5080. The benefits will reap for those who are really pushing at high resolutions. In the chip health forum, they even said themselves that don't really expect that much of a drastic difference. If you really are looking for a GPU to really future-proof yourself, this is a good card for that. Wait till I get to the whole release window and the pricing. But even though it gives an extra boost of 5%, it can help keep enthusiasts and those who use it for production usage peace at mind. As you know, the standard RTX 5080 is priced at $999 USD, but we all know that's not what you're going to really pay for it unless you get your hands on the Founders Edition. NVIDIA is likely going to push it between the $1,000 to $1,100 range, assuming that it's going to replace the 16 gigabyte model. Some analysts even expect it to go as high as $1,500 USD for this RTX 5080 Super. In any case, expect a premium. It is NVIDIA. As I just suggested, if you tuned in onto the lives, if you haven't been part of the lives, I usually do them Wednesdays and Saturdays. I do have to say, for the release window, more than likely expect it to happen in the beginning of the year of 2026. You can expect to see these GPUs to be there. Let's go to the RTX 5070 Ti Super. It's also getting quite the memory boost. The RTX 5070 Ti is expected to use the GB203. It is more than likely to feature 8,960 CUDA cores. It's going to be, again, identical to the RTX 5070 Ti's core. The 5070 was already using 70 out of 84 SMs. The Super version also seems to follow that same idea. Now, this is going to be quite different as we thought earlier throughout this year and even to the mid of this year. Even the RTX 5070 Ti may have a 24GB variant. That's right. So you don't have to get the RTX 5080 Super in order to get the full 24GB, which is nice. More than likely not going to be as quick as the RTX 5080. It's going to run on a 256-bit bus, which is not changing. But actually, it's going to stay at 28 gigabits per second compared to the big hefty upgrade for the RTX 5080 Super. They're using 3 gigabytes per chip, and it's going to be G7. This 50% VRAM bump is great for those who like the game in high resolution, once again, who likes the game in 4K, or super high refresh rate situations. It's honestly unusual to see so much VRAM on a RTX 5070 Ti. I'm guessing that NVIDIA is starting to get the message from everybody out there. So the TGP is going to be as high as 350 watts on the RTX 5070 Ti Super, which is going to be a 50-watt increase, which is about a 17% increase over the baseline RTX 5070 Ti. Originally, scenarios where the original 16GB card would run out of VRAM. This shouldn't be the case, especially when it comes to the RTX 5070 Ti, they expanded it. If you're curious about the gaming performance, again, once I hate to disappoint everybody out there, expect more of the same. It's not going to be a large increase unless you are pushing really high resolutions and high VRAM usage. And this is another card where you're looking to reap the benefits, especially if you're looking to future-proof your PC. 24 gigabytes will maintain performance compared to where 16 gigabytes you could run into possible stutter. Copilot 7 Kimi implies performance uplift is minor. It's not going to be a big upgrade. Pricing-wise, the RTX 5070 Ti debuted at $749 USD. When the RTX 5070 Ti lands, expected to be around the $750 to $799 USD range. Some may think it's going to go a little bit higher at $850. So for the release window for the RTX 5070 Ti Super, expected to be similar to the RTX 5080 Super that we just talked about, as it more than likely will release during the CES 2026 timeframe. Now, speaking of the RTX 5070 Super, you probably get a gist of what's going on here. More of these cards are really remaining mostly the same. Some minor upgrades when it comes to the VRAM. RTX 5070 Super is trying to fill the gap at 18 gigabytes of VRAM. We'll be using the GB205 GPU. Unlike the Ti and the RTX 5080, this is actually going to get a little bit more of a boost when it comes to its CUDA count, as it's going to increase to 6,400 CUDA cores compared to the original 6,144 CUDA cores. That's 2 extra streamlined multi-processors, which is going to be great for ray tracing use. That's a 4% uplift in core count. It's essentially a fully unlocked GB205 Blackwell. This minor bump in shaders is a nice little bonus, though again, 4% isn't going to drastically change your experience when it comes to gaming over the RTX 5070. It's going from 12 gigabytes of G7 over to 18 gigabytes of G7. Once again, it's using 3 gigabytes per chipset, and it's on a 192-bit bus, replacing the 2 gigabytes per chip to 3 gigabytes. The memory bandwidth will stay the same at 672 gigabytes per second. For the main appeal when it comes to the RTX 5070 Super is going to be the VRAM. So essentially, all the supercars that I just listed is going to be pretty much hyped around the VRAM more than anything. There's very minor improvements, just a little bit more power going to the cards and some more VRAM. core counts, and everything else with these cards, as I mentioned, isn't going to be a drastic change. Such as the RTX 5070 Super, you're going from 250 watts over to 275 watts. It's alleviating a lot of the VRAM bottlenecks. One could imagine about 5 to 10% better in performance. This is an uplift over just 4%, so you can imagine that's just going to be like 4% better FPS, you can really think of it as. That kind of gives you a good indication of where the power really lies with these cards. So the RTX 5070 released at $549 USD. More than likely, you could expect this card hitting around that same price of $549 to $599 USD. This is all if they decide to drop the baseline cards and just focus really selling the Super Series, as this will please a lot of gamers out there that are looking for the extra VRAM space. And with the timeline expected to release between January to March of 2026 for the RTX 5070 Super, and expect to see a lot of these cards be officially announced during the CES 2026. Let's go to the rumor of the RTX 5090 Ti. Is it just a rumor, or is it really going to be on its way? It's going to be NVIDIA's ultra enthusiast Halo card. Certainly, as you know, the RTX 5090 pushes about 21,760 CUDA cores, and it pushes at 32 gigabytes of G7 and a 512-bit bus. It's quite the beast. Enthusiasts are naturally asking if there's going to be a improvement, a new reiteration of the RTX 5090, potentially a GB202 that is fully unlocked. There was a leak out on Chappelle where there was a fully unlocked GB202 Blackwell GPU. It actually had up to 24,576 CUDA cores, dual 12-volt high-power ports, matching maximum theoretical cores, 170 SMs, and even possibly up to 180 SMs, some say. Prototype ran slightly higher at 2.5 gigahertz. But that's not even the insane part. What this board was rated at was up to 800 watts of power. Can you imagine that? It would be in line with like a Titan at that point. Now, before we lose all our minds about this RTX 5090 Ti, that's a possibility. More than likely, this isn't going to happen. The RTX 5090 is just perfect the way it is, and already it is quite the beast. This is one of those things where that people would love to see it happen, but the affordability factor just isn't there. Technically $1,999 USD for the card, expected to be closer to the 2,100 to 2,200 range, so it would be a slight increase. But with all that unlocked, who knows, they might even push up the price further. FanBam guys, what are your thoughts about the RTX 50 series Super cards? Would it be something that you would like to get your hands on? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're not part of the Big Wonderful FanBam, make sure you go down and hit the subscribe button for more, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. If you found this video useful, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and please share it to everybody out there who are PC gaming enthusiasts. Thanks again so much for watching. This is Chris Mizo signing out.